Hey guys, this is Candle and welcome to a new gaming pickups video. Yeah, just like last time, there's not going to be too much here for much the same reasons. I'm still trying to save up for a few items. There's not too much coming out that really interests me, and I'm trying to cut down on my backlog. So because of all of that, I kind of have to limit my purchases a bit. That's kind of why there's such huge gaps between these videos. But let's go ahead and get started with an old game. Yes, you might not be able to see it too well. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for PC. I have been wanting this game for the longest time. I remember I first encountered this game actually at the library when I was a kid. This was back when the library actually had video games you could rent just like you could books or whatever. And it's not a really good game, but it is quite a bit of fun, especially with the nostalgia factor having played it as a kid. It's basically almost like a knockoff Tomb Raider. It kind of plays similar to the really old classic Tomb Raider games, which is kind of odd considering it's Indiana Jones, but I mean it's the same kind of action adventure style, so it still plays a lot of fun. The only bad thing about the game, in my eyes at least, is it's not actually Harrison Ford doing the voice. As far as I know, he's never lent his voice to any of the Indiana Jones games, which kind of sucks, but what you gonna do? Anyways, it's still a fun game, and I'm glad to finally have it on PC. I was a little bit disappointed when I got this, though, because that was my phone. I expected to get this in the original box with the manual and everything, and instead all I got was this jewel case with both discs, and they're both in here. There's disc 2, and they're actually in pristine condition, so it's really good. It's just a little disappointing it didn't get everything I was hoping for, but honestly, considering how old the game is and the fact that I got it off of Amazon instead of like eBay where I could have checked to see what all was included, it's still pretty good. And the only real bad thing about this game, though, is you can't install it on modern operating systems. Now, you can play it on modern operating systems, but you can't install it on them because the game is actually a 32-bit application, but the installer is 16-bit, and 16-bit is no longer supported on normal 64-bit operating systems, which is kind of the standard nowadays. So what you have to do is you have to track down and download a fan-made installer, which will install the game for you, and then you can play it as normal. I didn't really run into any problems playing the game. It runs like all modern resolutions, although the problem is it's built for a 4:3 aspect ratio, so if you try to play it in like 16:9, the actual game screen image is fine, but the UI gets all screwed up. Like it gets shunted down to the bottom of the screen, half of it gets cut off. So it's a little bit weird in that respect, but it plays fine. I didn't really encounter too many glitches, although I had to start up a new game every time I tried to play it because the resume game option on the launcher would not work. So I had to go and start a new game and then load the proper game save from there. But still, it was a lot of fun to play. Finally able to finish it. So glad to add this to my collection. Speaking of other things I'm glad to add to my collection, last time I got a Nintendo Switch, and there's still not too much available out for it, but one of the things available is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So yeah, I went ahead and picked up this. It's the Switch version of Mario Kart 8, and it's pretty much the exact same as Mario Kart 8, except you don't have to unlock any of the gameplay modes or the characters. Everything's unlocked from the beginning. Vehicle customization options, you do have to unlock those by collecting coins throughout your races and so on. But the other key thing is it includes everything that was in Mario Kart 8, plus all of its DLC, as well as a few extra things, like the battle mode is new to this, I believe, as well as certain characters such as like the Squidlings or Inklings, I think they're called. I don't remember, but they're from Splatoon. So it's a lot of fun. It's very good to be able to take a full Mario Kart game on the go, considering they haven't put out a handheld one since Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS, and I haven't actually really played a Mario Kart game on the go ever, really. I've never owned one of the handheld versions, so it's nice to be able to take this on the go. Next up is Prey 2017, which has nothing to do with Prey from 2006, despite the fact that Bethesda now owns the IP. They bought out the original one. I'm suspecting, like, as soon as they realized that the Prey 2 sequel just wasn't going to work. I'm suspecting they went ahead and decided, you know what, we've got the trademark for Prey. Let's go ahead and use that. The new game has nothing to do with the old one. It actually has more in common with, say, System Shock 2 or BioShock than anything else. But it's still it's a lot of fun to play. It's really good, really well done. I can't wait to see what Arcane does next. They're the people who made Dishonored 2, which came out last fall, I believe, if I remember correctly. And that was a lot of fun too. It actually runs really well on PC, this is the version I got. Still a lot of fun, really good. The other PC game I bought was Siberia 3. Yes, if any of you have watched some of my original Let's Plays when I first started on YouTube, like 7 years ago, some of the first ones I did were Siberia 1 and 2. These classic point-and-click adventure games. So much fun to play and just invest yourself in those worlds. So when I heard they were making a third one, of course I had to get it, and me being me, I had to track down a physical copy rather than trying to just download it. So yeah, this actually comes with Siberia 1 and 2 as well. They're right up in there. I actually already had them on Steam, and that's what this is for. It's a Steam code. So I have a useless Steam code for Siberia 1 and 2 right now. But it's still nice to have Siberia 3 on disc, especially since I also have 1 and 2 on disc. The game, however, is not that good. This is actually the only game I've bought this year so far that I have not yet finished. And yeah, I'm having a really hard time getting into it. The writing and the voice acting in particular are what are getting me. And then they've never really been all that stellar for this franchise, but it just seems worse. I mean, it's nice that they have the original voice cast, at least for Kate Walker. They got the original voice actress for the main character to come back. But it seems almost like she phoned it in, and a lot of the rest of the voice acting just kind of really grates on me. I don't know if it's just that kind of stuff hasn't aged well, and this thing hasn't really been updated well enough or whatnot. But the other big thing is the gameplay. It plays pretty much exactly like a Telltale adventure game does, at least more of their older titles. Not so much what they've been putting out more recently, but back when they were still doing stuff that adhered a little bit more to the classic point-and-click adventure style rather than the more storytelling style that they've become known for. And it plays almost exactly like that, and it feels weird. It does. It feels really weird. There's also the fact that this game, the mouse and keyboard controls are not that great. You can play it perfectly fine with them, but they're not that great. It was definitely designed more for a console or a controller experience. And in fact, when you boot it up, it even says right on the splash screen that it plays best with a controller. And I've tried it with both, and I have to agree, but it still feels a little bit lacking with the controller as well. So last up for the physical portion of this, yes, I did get a few digital games, but last up for the physical portion of this is, well, last time I bought a new console, and I did the same again. Yes, I got a PlayStation Vita, finally, after years of having it on the list of things to get. I have you can just barely see them up here, I have a stack of Vita games I had accumulated over the years that I've been unable to play because I didn't have the system. I just picked them up because they were cheap at the time. So I finally have a Vita, and I've been able to play a few of them. Most notably, I played Uncharted Golden Abyss, which has some touch bullshit, and Wipeout 2048, which also has some touch bullshit, as well as a difficulty spike right at the end. And the other one I picked up was also Assassin's Creed Liberation. Yeah, sorry, the lighting in here is not great, so it's kind of hard to get the proper angle. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Liberation, which is the last main entry in the franchise I had yet to play. I do consider, out of all the handheld games, the only ones I consider part of the main franchise would be Bloodlines and Liberation. Especially considering Liberation also has an HD port available for download on the PS3. I don't know if you can play that on the PS4 or not, but it is available for download on the PS3. And I have to say, it really is a little lackluster. It controls decently enough, and I really like the idea in the game of using these personas. You play as Aveline de Grand Prix, who is the daughter of a freed slave, and she is also the daughter of a French aristocrat in New Orleans. So she kind of straddles the line, much like Connor did in Assassin's Creed 3, of being kind of two worlds. Connor was half Native American and half British, whereas Aveline is half African American and half French. So it's kind of interesting and in that, and the fact that you have three different personas you can play through the game as. You have the standard assassin persona, you have the slave persona, which allows you to go mostly unseen in places, and then you have the lady persona, which means guards pretty much don't pay attention to you at all. So you kind of get to play around with all three of those, but there are a few problems. The story, like I said, is extremely lackluster. It's barely there. I have this feeling you really have to dig into it to understand it, and the gameplay is just, it's barely enough to make me play through the rest of the game. It's also pretty short, too. But there is a little bit of touch bullshit, and there's this weird thing where you sometimes have to open letters by, here, I've got the Vita right here. You've got a touchscreen on the back, and you've got a touchscreen on the front, and the way you have to open these letters is grip both the front and the back touchscreen and slide your finger across the top, which in and of itself isn't bad. But the problem is then you have these encoded letters that you have to hold the Vita up to a bright light source, which when I'm trying to play in bed at night, not ideal. I have to turn on the light, hold it up, maneuver it around. It's not ideal because there's also a little camera right here that you have to do that. And it's weird and awkward. And then the other big problem with this game is frame rate issues. This game cannot maintain a stable frame rate. I don't know if it's 30 or 60, but whatever it is, it stutters like crazy. And I don't understand why, because it's not really doing anything, I don't think, that really pushes the Vita's hardware. And speaking of which, since I have it in my hands, this really is a neat little thing. It feels a lot better in your hand than the Switch does. It's not as big and as clunky, and the rounded edges fit a lot more nicely in the palm of your hands. The only problem is the button placement. They are considerably smaller than what you're used to on like a DualShock 3 or a DualShock 4 controller, and it's really weird. Also, the fact that you have these thumbsticks here. They're really small, incredibly low profile, but they don't click in at all. So you're still missing a normal button press there that you would normally expect. Whereas, like, you could use the back touchscreen in place of R2 and R3, which you don't, or L2 and R2, which you don't have here. Other than that, I mean, it is a really neat little system. I can't wait to play the other Vita games I have and everything else. So that is it for the physical portion. Hang on one second, and I did get a few games off of Steam. Alright, so for this portion, there's really not too much to go through. First off, we have Alan Wake and Alan Wake's American Nightmare. These games are actually no longer available on Steam due to licensing issues with music included in Alan Wake. American Nightmare might still be available, I'm not entirely sure. I know the big issue was with Alan Wake, but that's kind of the reason why I picked them up. Right before Alan Wake disappeared from Steam, they were running a sale where I could get both of these for really cheap, for like $4 or $5. I don't remember exactly how much, but yeah. They're actually really good games, and I've talked about them before. There's not much else to say about them. The only way to actually get Alan Wake nowadays, though, is to track down a used copy of the 360 version. So the only other game to talk about is way, way down at the bottom here. Well, not quite the bottom. There we go. Right here. Outlast 2. So I've played Outlast 1. I really enjoyed it. I actually did a Let's Play of it. So when Outlast 2 came out, I figured, yeah, let's go ahead and play it. Let's give it a try. This game is extremely scary, at least at the beginning. So much so that I could not actually finish it myself. I had to watch somebody else play it. But when you have a backlog that's as big as mine, you kind of take whatever shortcuts you can get. So anyways, that is it. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Please remember to comment, rate, and subscribe.